The Resilient Paradox: How Black Women Are Redefining Success Through Adversity. Thank you all for being here today. I stand before you humbled and electrified by a conversation that has fundamentally shifted my understanding of resilience, success, and the extraordinary journey of Black women in America's workforce. I recently had the profound privilege of sitting down with Dr. Paschana Lamar, a revolutionary force whose research at the intersection of entrepreneurship, racial justice, and gender equity has transformed how we understand resilience in professional spaces. Dr. Lamar isn't just documenting disparities, she's dismantling them. Her groundbreaking work has created pathways for thousands of marginalized entrepreneurs while challenging the very systems that necessitate such extraordinary resilience in the first place. When history looks back on those who redefined economic empowerment in the 21st century, Dr. Lamar's name will be written in bold. What I'm about to share with you today might challenge everything you think you know about success, resilience, and the current landscape for Black women in America. Because beneath the inspirational headlines and celebratory statistics lies a far more complex and confronting reality, one that demands not just our attention, but our action. Here's the jarring truth that stopped me in my tracks. Black women are simultaneously being celebrated as America's fastest growing group of entrepreneurs while experiencing some of the most devastating job losses in today's economy. Let that sink in. The same demographic being heralded for their business innovation is also bearing the heaviest burden of economic instability. This isn't just a curious contradiction. It's what I call the resilient paradox, a phenomenon where extraordinary achievement exists alongside extraordinary obstacles, where celebration and crisis occupy the same space, where triumph and trauma dance an uncomfortable tango. In early 2025, Gusto reported that nearly half 49% of all new businesses in America were started by women. Among Black owned ventures, more were founded by women than men. These aren't just impressive statistics, they represent a seismic shift in who's creating economic opportunity in our communities. But here's where the paradox cuts deep. In April 2025 alone, over 106,000 jobs held by Black women vanished. That's more than any other demographic group. And this happened during a period when overall US employment was actually growing. While the economy was expanding, Black women were being pushed out in record numbers. When Dr. Lamar shared these findings with me, I felt my chest tighten, not just from the numbers themselves, but from what they reveal about our collective delusions regarding success and opportunity in America. We've been conditioned to believe that entrepreneurship is primarily driven by opportunity, by visionaries who spot gaps in markets and boldly pursue their dreams. But Dr. Lamar's research reveals something far more disturbing. For many Black women, entrepreneurship isn't just about opportunity, it's about survival. The shift began post pandemic, Dr. Lamar explained, her voice steady but urgent, when mass layoffs prompted many professional Black women to pursue entrepreneurship out of necessity, not just opportunity. They didn't choose entrepreneurship, entrepreneurship chose them. This isn't the glossy, Instagram worthy version of entrepreneurship we're used to celebrating. It's entrepreneurship born from systemic exclusion. It's innovation fueled by desperation. It's resilience forged in adversity. And yet, despite these origins, or perhaps because of them, something remarkable is happening. These entrepreneurs aren't just surviving, they're transforming entire industries. They're reshaping healthcare, social assistance, retail, and personal services. They're creating business models that prioritize community impact alongside profit. They're redefining what success looks like, but we can't fully appreciate this achievement without acknowledging the systemic barriers that made it necessary in the first place. The April 2025 employment crisis didn't happen in a vacuum. It was fueled partly by federal rollbacks on diversity initiatives, policy changes that rippled through private industry, reducing hiring prospects for marginalized groups at every level. Many of the women affected had previously relied on stable government roles before these anti DEI policies triggered mass layoffs targeting positions where diversity was highest represented. When faced with this crisis, these professionals didn't just accept defeat, they pivoted towards self employment. They launched micro businesses using digital platforms. They created their own opportunities when traditional doors slammed shut. But here's what's truly remarkable, and what Dr. Lamar emphasized repeatedly in our conversation. They didn't do this alone. They built networks, they formed communities, they created support systems that traditional institutions had failed to provide. This brings me to one of the most powerful insights from my conversation with Dr. Lamar. Real time storytelling matters, not just the polished after stories we typically hear, the triumphant narratives of obstacles overcome and success achieved, but the messy, unfinished stories of people still in the struggle, still figuring it out, still building their path forward. When we only celebrate success after it's been achieved, we create the dangerous illusion that the path was clearer than it actually was. We hide the doubt, the setbacks, the moments of despair that are inevitable parts of any meaningful journey. And in doing so, we make resilience seem like something magical rather than something methodical, something innate rather than something learned. The women in Dr. Lamar's research didn't just overcome obstacles, they documented them. They shared their struggles in real time. They invited others into their process while they were still in it, rather than waiting until they had it all figured out. And this transparency created something powerful. It made resilience feel possible and tangible for others facing similar hardships. This is particularly important when we consider another devastating reality. Dr. Lamar shared the persistent funding disparities facing female founders. A comprehensive review found that female only startup teams received just over $6 billion, or only about 2.3% of total venture capital allocated in recent years. For Black women founders, that percentage drops to a fraction of a percent. Faced with these staggering disparities, many founders bypassed traditional VCs altogether. They turned instead toward angel investor collectives led by other successful minority entrepreneurs who understood their lived experiences firsthand. They leveraged community grants, crowdfunding platforms, and peer networks tailored for underrepresented founders. Despite having access to far fewer resources than their male counterparts, these entrepreneurs created leaner operations with outsized social impact relative to dollars invested. They didn't just build businesses, they built movements. As Dr. Lamar told me, with fire in her eyes, their success has inspired policy discussions around equitable access to capital and demonstrated how inclusive entrepreneurship can transform communities nationwide. This is the essence of the resilient paradox, the way that systemic exclusion can sometimes, paradoxically, fuel innovation, that transforms not just individual lives, but entire systems. But, and this is crucial, recognizing this paradox doesn't mean accepting or celebrating the barriers that make such resilience necessary. It means acknowledging the full reality of what's happening so we can address both sides of the equation. We should absolutely celebrate the extraordinary achievements of Black women entrepreneurs, but we must simultaneously work to dismantle the systems that push them out of traditional employment in the first place. We should honor their resilience without romanticizing the conditions that made such resilience necessary. Because here's the uncomfortable truth: no one should have to be this resilient just to participate in the economy. No one should have to be this innovative just to survive. The real question isn't how can more people develop this kind of resilience? It's how can we create systems where this kind of resilience isn't required for basic economic participation? This brings me to what I believe is the most powerful insight from my conversation with Dr. Lamar, something that speaks directly to each of us in this room today. The women in these studies aren't just redefining entrepreneurship, they're redefining strength itself. For too long, we've equated strength with endurance, with the capacity to withstand hardship without breaking. But these women are demonstrating a different kind of strength, the strength to transform hardship into opportunity, not just for themselves, but for their communities. They're showing us that true strength isn't about carrying burdens alone. It's about building networks that distribute those burdens. It's not about hiding vulnerability. It's about leveraging vulnerability as a tool for authentic connection. So today I challenge you, regardless of your gender, your race, your profession, to reconsider how you define both success and resilience. I challenge you to share your story, not the polished version, but the real one, the one with the messy middle, the unresolved questions, the lessons still being learned. I challenge you to examine the systems you participate in and ask, are we celebrating resilience while perpetuating the conditions that make it necessary? I challenge you to look at who's missing from your table, your boardroom, your investment portfolio, your leadership team, and ask the uncomfortable questions about why. And finally, I challenge you to recognize that the most powerful stories aren't the ones that end with triumph. They're the ones that reveal the full, complicated truth of what it means to be human in systems designed for some to succeed and others to struggle. Because somewhere, someone needs to hear exactly where you are right now, not where you'll be someday. Someone needs to know they're not alone in their struggle. Someone needs to see that resilience isn't about never falling, it's about rising together again and again. The resilient paradox isn't just a phenomenon to observe, it's a call to action, a demand that we build economic systems worthy of the extraordinary people who participate in them. A world where Black women and everyone can thrive, not despite the system, but because of it. That's the world Dr. Paschana Lamar is fighting for. That's the world I'm committed to building. And I hope after today, it's the world you'll help create too. Thank you.